go, and you are now live.
I can feel it.
Okay, so Senate Appropriations, and we're continuing our testimony on the 23 budget. And we have here testifying on behalf of the auditor's office is the auditor and the deputy auditor to present their recommended budget and any other issues that they might want to bring to our attention. So we have between now and 4:15 to take up your budget presentation, as well as other any other issues or comments that you would like to bring to our attention. So I think it's the two of you, is that right? Or do you have more from your staff, Doug?
I think the two of us can handle it, but thank you.
I think
I can
probably.
call a friend if need be. It's okay.
Yeah, I think probably even you by yourself would be able to.
I've got a 45-minute presentation though after Doug finishes, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do have a switch that we can just shut you off.
Yeah, we look forward. We look forward, but don't forget the ultimate power is with Chrissy, because she can pull a switch.
The hook, yeah.
We do subtract a percent every minute over.
So, Doug, we look forward to your presentation, and thank you both for coming this afternoon. This is our first day back. We left 2 years ago, March 13th. And this is really our first, for some of us, our first really full return to the State House. So it's a special day, and we'll welcome you to start with your testimony this afternoon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your first day back is fantastic. I assume that will lead to greater productivity. Is that right?
Definitely.
That would suggest we weren't highly productive in a remote environment, and I'm not sure we would want to concede that.
All right. Well, thank you for the time. Good to be here. If you've had a chance to look over the documents we sent, you'll see that there's almost nothing to talk about. Not only is our budget request virtually flat, but the only active factors are so straightforward and tedious as to be boring. And the first is that, as you know, a big part of our budget is the work done by the independent audit firm, now CLA, has been for a few years. And as it turned out, the number of programs that we anticipated when we first put the budget numbers out is going to be reduced a little bit. So we saved some money there. The second, as you know better than us, since you dealt with it with everyone, we had a 27th pay period last year, which was not covered, and now we don't. And furthermore, the only change in the general fund and some in the SARF is the usual payroll and benefits and that sort of thing. In the end, it works out to a virtually flat budget, with the exception of one item, which I will bring to your attention, which I think is in the document. But to be clear, about a year and a half ago, in the budget adjustment of all places, my first experience with BAA, we went to the House Appropriations Committee initially, because that's where we started, and told them that because of your decision a number of years ago to have us do the TIF audits, that it was becoming a considerable drain on our resources, which are already limited. And we said, in fairness, you know, it was my first unfunded mandate. So for that, it was kind of exciting, but it wasn't working at all. We were losing a lot of resource on TIF, and we still are. And they and you ultimately were kind enough to give us an extra position, which we waited on. But there's a bunch of churn in the office, and we had an opening for a staff auditor 2, which is entry level. We had trouble filling that position. And we've had very good luck filling so-called senior auditor positions, somebody from Washington State, somebody from Austin, Texas, and somebody from GAO outside of DC. Really solid people. I'm very excited about the staff we have right now. They're really good people. So what we'd like to do, since we couldn't find anybody on the staff auditor 2, and we already had approval from HR for this, is to upgrade that to a senior auditor. To do so, we need a few extra dollars. So that will take our negative budget proposal up barely into a 0.5% positive, if we can live with that.
There must
We
be
estimate,
quite a Doug, there must be quite a salary differential to require an additional 70. I know probably about a third of that's benefits and, so.
yeah, the staff auditor 2 starts in the 65 to 70 range, and depending on the years of experience and the nature of their experience, the senior auditors start 90 to 100. And remember, that's with the market factor adjustment. So,
Okay.
which is frankly, I'm so grateful for. Randy Brock did that back in the early aughts, and it allows us to get and keep really fine people. So I'm grateful.
So, yes, you said your budget was, did you use the term boring?
Well, what I just said is pretty boring. We don't do programs. Come on. What can I say? The work is not boring, but the budget is boring.
No, okay. Well, you've got an opportunity, you've gone through the budget and, which, you're requesting, and obviously you've got the position. This is just converting it to a higher level so you can attract the talent you need to do the job. Everything is still going well with because you did change contractors for the single state audit. That's going well.
Yes, thank you.
Findings are still at an acceptable level from what they used to be. So what else would you like to use this opportunity to enlighten us? I know that you had sent out a communication relative to what Montana had done for their healthcare programs. I did have some preliminary conversations with that approach. There was one comment about it's also not just the reimbursements, how you deal with utilization, because systems have wonderful ability to, if you constrain one place, how it can be pop out somewhere else, or how to do it in such a way to preclude that from happening. So I just wanted you to know that I did get feedback from both what was happening on the healthcare reform side as well as what is happening or to state human resources. And I think probably it gets into the whole approach toward global budgeting as well, which is something that's under discussion in terms of using that approach toward controlling healthcare costs. So I just haven't had a chance, and my email volume of email, we're just talking about it, is hard, it's impossible to keep up with. Senator Westman, I don't know if he was into hyperbole, but he said he got 900 emails on a couple bills.
I did.
So we're just getting overwhelmed with the volume of communications, even to get through to the ones that you have to get through. Even to find a Zoom link is sometimes a challenge. So what else would you like us to know? I think Senator Sears had a couple of questions.
I do actually. I have some, one comment, and that was on the sheriff's audit, the deputy sheriffs, and their use during the state paid deputies during the pandemic. And that actually the results of that were very helpful in looking towards how we can fill courthouse security. And we may have a proposal fairly shortly in this committee on saving some money by using state paid deputies for courthouse security, which has been a problem. And we used a lot of that information. So I thank you. I know it took a while to get that information, but it was enlightening, frankly. So
I'm glad to help.
But I do have questions for the deputy, though, if that would be okay, particularly about the rising gas prices and what he's doing about it, given the impact on state vehicles, particularly trucks. And I don't know if he's doing anything about it.
Price gouging, I thought you were concerned about.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the price gouging that's going on. And we see these prices like Sunday, they went from $3.89 to $4.19, just like that. What are you
Couldn't agree
doing?
more. I heard him laughing about the price increase the other day myself, but I don't have a recording
Really?
of that.
Yeah, well,
Madam Chair, you offered an opportunity for me to mention another subject, and I will, with your
I think
permission.
you're kind of trying to rescue.
well,
me.
I haven't gotten an answer from the deputy auditor. All due
There's a
respect,
reason.
Mr. Auditor.
I'm having trouble with my volume.
Oh,
Uh,
that never used to be a problem.
Oh.
So you can see, yeah, I'm sure you have missed this a lot. So, well, we can spare the deputy from that interrogation if you have some other point that you would like to make or information to share with us.
I do have one in particular, and that's, and I communicated it to you, copied you on an email to the Senate Economic Development Committee 2 weeks ago, regarding the administration's proposed capital investment program, for which they're asking for a total of $90 million. And that is, I mean, you know better than I, this is what you do every day, all day, deal with large sums of money. But to me, asking the legislature to make a decision about $90 million in a couple of months with almost no information is a real problem and presents risk, tremendous risk to the state, which is a big part of what my office is supposed to do, is identify risk and share that information with you. And in this case, the rules have changed along the way, although not enough to justify what I'm seeing. And we're going to have a memo to you either later today or more likely tomorrow. Our view of the agency's proposed program, which you approved last year, but the rules have changed a little bit since then. And I think there's good reason to believe that much of the program is at risk. And the risk is not just in giving money to where it's not going to do the most good, but the federal government has the right clearly to recoup funds that are used by otherwise ineligible recipients or for ineligible purposes. And that is the problem. So I hope you'll take a chance as you can to look it over. This issue will come to you, of course, after it leads Senator Sorokin's committee. So please keep an eye out for that.
Well, we did pay a lot of attention because last year the recommendation was, I think, 50 million off the top of my head, and it was substantially reduced in the budget that we passed. And we've been trying to pay attention. There was another use of 5 million to go to a home ownership pilot program. And we did reject it, but we felt that we really needed to have more details in terms of how the program would work and so forth. So we are trying to make sure, be vigilant. There are times when, in fact, you might say it's a toss-up, and that's a risk we want to take. And I think there might have been some areas with CRF, and then in the end, we found out, certainly with the hazard pay, that what we wanted to do was absolutely permissible, and we would have been the first in the nation if it had moved forward in the way the Senate wanted it to. So I look forward to the memo that you had said you were going to be preparing and submit on that, because as much money as it is, it's amazing how quickly it can be obligated, and the requests are just staggering, and people are going to say, well, let us, if you don't ask, then you don't get considered. So that puts a tremendous burden in terms of how you vet, how you prioritize, how you make sure that what's being proposed is going to give you the best return. So
well, in this case, it's not just the best return, it's whether it's legally permitted by the Treasury guidelines.
I appreciate that, and that's why with joint fiscal, that was where we first approved the money for Guidehouse. And I don't know exactly what their role is now. I guess maybe it's changed a bit, but we certainly do not want to be appropriating money in ways that are clearly not consistent with the guidelines that Treasury or whatever federal agency is putting them out.
Well, in addition, as to your comment about you and your colleagues hearing repeatedly from those who want money from the state, two things come to mind. One, if you advertise that there's free money, what a surprise. People are going to line up and ask for it. And the agency did a lot of outreach through the RDCs in particular. And furthermore, I think it's important to keep this in mind for perspective. $3.4 billion has already come to this economy. A significant amount of it went to private businesses. And I'm grateful for that. We needed it. Maybe it was too much, who knows? But at this point, the numbers seem to suggest that significant elements of the economy are back on their feet. They may not be quite back to where they should be. Certainly, there are some laggards in food, hospitality, and so forth. They still are struggling a bit. But otherwise, for people to say there's a huge unmet need, this is not April of 2020. This is an entirely different situation. And for those who would argue we have to act quickly, I would say, if what you're doing is not due diligence, then I would suggest you should definitely not act too quickly. And I don't mean you, I mean the agency. And you guys are busy. You don't have a lot of time to do this stuff. And I think the agency is obligated to be much more forthcoming than they have been so far.
Well, we are going to hopefully have our economic development folk have the benefit of your memo and your review. I believe that maybe some of the requested appropriations will be adjusted or used in different ways. We'll just have to see how that works.
Yep.
And we do have a little bit more time. I mean, everything doesn't have to be obligated this year. We know that from the state economists or the legislative economists, that a lot of the federal money really was not well directed. But we had $10 billion that got thrown into the little state of Vermont, and it's really affected revenues. It's distorted so much of the world. And so we have to be particularly vigilant that how much of it is really ongoing and available to sustain the programs that we have in place as well, or that we would add. So that it is a challenging environment. So other comments? When is your memo going to be available?
If not by the end of business today, then tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll look forward to that. Any other work or comments or reviews?
Only that since it wasn't in our formal budget request, that 70 grand that we're looking for, I hope that doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
Okay, so this is not in the governor's recommend?
No. At that time, we were still recruiting for the other position. We just didn't have any luck. And oddly, we seem to be better able to attract senior auditors with performance audit experience, which is great for us, but it's a little more expensive.
All right, so that's a request then.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm making a list and checking it twice. Okay, Senator Starr, you have any questions or?
Is that all going to Tim, that 70,000?
Damn. I knew somebody on the committee would get that.
Not surprised Senator Starr was able to cut through it all, Doug.
Well, I thought maybe if it was, we could share a little. No, I have no question.
All right, any other comments or questions? If not, we will let you get back and so thank you for clarifying 70,000. You have the position, you just want to reclassify it and need the additional money.
Right.
The position, we've got approval from HR to reclassify. It's just the money.
Right. You just need the money to underwrite the higher cost of the higher level position.
Correct.
All right. We'll add that to our list.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Any other questions of the auditor or the deputy? It's good to see you both. Are you both remote? Are you next door, Doug, or are you remote?
I'm in Burlington.
You're in Burlington. Okay. Well, thank you. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you guys.
Thank you very much.
Before long, we'll all be back in person.
Okay,
That would be good.